Okay. You sure you want to do this? Yeah? Okay, is it okay if we record it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Are you okay with also sharing it with people?
Mm-hmm.
So that those that want to know about your beads, do you want to share that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Phoenix has been asking about her beads of courage. And before we get through all of them, I'll just show you how many she has. These are the beads for just the first 4 months that you went through treatment, okay? You went into the hospital in March. And so today, I'm gonna do my best to get you through the first, just until you got your bone marrow transplant, which is that bead, okay?
This one?
No, see this one, it's a bone.
Oh.
So,
What's that?
I'll tell you, that's the end. So this is your bone marrow transplant, and then we'll go and talk about the rest of them another day, but we'll talk about these the first set, okay? Your name is on here, and your name here marks when we got to go home before you came back to the hospital and got your bone marrow transplant, okay? Because you were 5 months old when you got this. 5.5 months old when you got your transplant. And you got it on Daddy's birthday, but we'll get there. Okay, so we'll try to get just through these first ones. All right, you hold it for the camera and I'll explain it. Let's do the first 3 beads. These 3, you can hold them. These 3 are magenta colored, and these represent emergency room visits. You know what an emergency room is?
Mm-hmm.
When you go to the hospital? Okay. So we went to 2 hospitals here in New Jersey before Dr. Joe said, get her to CHOP right away. So we did. And this bead is the one that you got for going into the NICU. Because CHOP said, oop, she's got to be in the hospital. This bead is brown. This one is for what's called a bone marrow aspiration. You have a little scar on the back of your hip right here. You feel where I'm pushing? Where they went in real deep with a needle, and they went into your hip bone and they pulled out some of your bone marrow so they could figure out why you were having fevers. Because you were just a baby. You were like 9 weeks old, 8.5, 9 weeks old. Babies aren't supposed to have fevers like that when they're so little, okay? So the first 2 hospitals we went to thought that you just had an infection and gave us medicine, but the Tylenol, nothing was working. So that's why they said, we gotta go and figure out. They ran every single test they could possibly think of. They spent probably $1 million running tests on you. And finally they said that we gotta go in the bone marrow and find out what's going on in the bone marrow, okay? And then when they figured out what was going on in the bone marrow, these 2 beads are for lines that they placed. They put a line in your arm. You've seen the little scars on your arm, they look like dots. You want me to show them to you?
Sure.
Okay, pull your arm out. Okay. Open your arm up. See that spot right there?
Yeah.
You see that? They put a line here, and then they put one in your leg. So that's what these 2 lines were for. And they did that so that they could give you your medicine inside the line. And so instead of having to poke you all the time, because I'll show you the pokes in just a minute, but instead of having to poke you all the time, they could just go into your line. Okay?
Okay.
I'll tell you about these next few ones and then we'll take a break, all right? We're not gonna make it to bone marrow because it's a lot. These beads here, let's show the camera, that look like a tortoise shell. These are for lumbar punctures. You know what a lumbar puncture is? That's a serious one. That's where they took a big needle, and you feel your spine right here? They went into your spine and they gave medicine inside your spine They gave something called chemotherapy. And they did this because the HLH that you had was in your spine and it was trying to come and attack your brain. So they had to go and they poked you in your spine. One day they poked you 7 times trying to get that chemo in there. So you got a lot of lumbar punctures because you had to have that once a week in your spine until we went to transplant. Want to keep going, or you want to do this again the rest another day? Keep going? All right, so that's what those ones are. These are black ones, right? And now the black, for this one, they actually ran out of beads. So instead of giving us all the beads that you needed, we agreed that every bead on here stood for 10. So we should have 50 black beads on this set. And the black beads are for every time they had to do a poke with a needle. And that is just from the first few months or first couple months that you were in the hospital. So this is 50 times they poked you. Keep going. You sure? Okay. This is called a bumpy bead. Bumpy bead. And you get a bumpy bead when you experience some kind of trouble. And the trouble you were experiencing it's gonna be hard for mommy. I'm sorry. You were having trouble breathing. And let me keep going.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got this one because they put a tube down your throat to help you breathe. They called that intubation. They had to intubate you. What are these white ones? These are for chemo. There's 16 of them. You got 13 doses of something called VP16. No, actually, I'm sorry. Maybe that was 13. Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. This one is actually, this is the chemotherapy that you received while in the NICU before you went for your bone marrow transplant. I'm trying to remember what type of chemo it was, but either way, you ended up having to do another lumbar puncture. And this little bead here, see it?
The boy.
It's a child, it's a kid. That one represents losing your hair. Because after you went through all this chemo, you lost your hair. And you had the cutest little hair, it was so soft. Keep going?
Yeah.
Or should we stop at hair loss and do more another day?
Do another day.
Yeah, I'm good with that. We're still good with this? Okay.